Hi, welcome to Supposedly. I'm Rue.
I'm Jessi.
And we're going to tell you about some creepy, weird, true crime paranormally stuff.
Mine isn't very paranormally. Do you have paranormally today?
Kind of, yeah. It gets a little, it's mostly true crimey. We'll get a little paranormal.
Then we'll count that. So we will tell you about some creepy paranormally things today.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask you how your brain was.
Oh, my brain is much better. As soon as I got meds on board, it was pretty much smooth sailing.
Well, we're very glad to hear that.
How's your brain? I mean, not that you lost a fight with a sewing machine or anything, but how are you?
How's my brain? It's been a hell of a week. I'm hanging in there. I'm good.
Okay.
We got a new roommate, so welcome Alan to the household and his cat Severus. So for those of you keeping track at home, there are now 4 cats, 2 dogs, 3 humans, and 2 babies that sometimes make appearances on this podcast.
Honestly, at this point, I feel like we're the guest stars and the cats own the podcast.
Pretty much.
And, like, sometimes they'll let us be, make an appearance.
Occasionally, we get to step in and tell a fun story, but most of the time it's just cats snoring, purring, licking, or meowing at things at this
It's just disembodied cat snores. Because they just straight up sound like ghostly moaning. It's just like, nah. And I'm, like, editing and I'm like, what? And it's like, nah.
Disembodied Cat Snores is now the new name of my band.
Step aside, mouse rat. Disembodied Cat Snores is coming through.
I don't have a band, but if I do, Disembodied Cat Snores.
Please, that is the mixtape I need in my life, like you would not believe. Really quick though, so in addition to both being bad at math, we're also bad at calendars and didn't realize our last episode was going to come out already in February, so happy Black History Month!
Happy Black History Month!
And we just wanted to celebrate our Black listeners and give a shout out to all of the Black podcasters and content creators out there. We love Sweet as Honey podcast. We've talked about them before. But if you want to stay a little bit more in the creepy, crimey realm, we absolutely love Spooked is incredible. Bruh is a Murder is amazing. Affirmative Murder Pod. There are so many incredible shows being produced by people of color. And we highly recommend that you go check them out and show them some love this month and every month after. Happy Black History Month.
Yeah, definitely. I know you're supposed to go this week, but I was actually kind of wondering if I could.
Oh, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Okay. Because in addition to Black History Month, February is a month that has Valentine's Day in it.
Yep.
And I thought we could kind of celebrate together with some traditions from around the world.
I love that.
This isn't part of our Fa La 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 holidays. What were we calling this?
Haunted holidays?
Oh, yes, this is not part of our Haunted Holidays series. But it is a holiday, and we are going to show some love to it.
I have a question for you, Jessi.
Yeah.
Will you be my Valentine?
I mean, won't Darnell be a little jealous?
I mean, he's my husband. You can be my Valentine, though.
Yes, I will be your Valentine. 100%. I don't have a Valentine this year. You don't have a Valentine this year. Well, I mean you've got a... Yeah.
I've got a forever Valentine.
You've got a life Valentine.
Yeah. A life Valentine.
Life.
The word husband is canceled. It's now life Valentine.
Oh, I'd love to come to your party, but my life Valentine has a thing that day we're going to.
Straight up, that is the best part of being married, though. Like, oh, I would love to come, but I can't. In addition to Valentine's Day, this is also our last episode before your birthday.
It is, yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 2 days before Valentine's, so that's the 12th, for those of you who are good at calendars, unlike ourselves. I'm looking forward to it, I guess. But I mean, like...
I selfishly am excited for you to see what I got you for your birthday.
I'm really excited for that too. I cannot wait. That'll be fantastic. I don't really know what I'm doing for my birthday yet, so we'll find out. I just really hope Viennetta is involved.
I do know that that is something that's important to you.
That's pretty much it. So before I begin this, we lost a good friend this week. Sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I kind of want to dedicate this segment to Drew Burbridge and his wife Jennifer. Drew passed recently, and I'm going to try not to cry here. But Drew and Jenny were just the epitome of soulmates. And I know this is going to be her first Valentine's without, like, the love of her life. And so I'd like to ask all supposers, if you find yourself without a Valentine this year, or if you want to do something nice for my birthday, I'm going to put the GoFundMe up for Drew's final expenses. I would love if you made any sort of contribution, because I just remember going to film festivals and Drew would be there and I'd be talking to him. And no matter where Ginny was in the room, like, they were married a long time, and no matter where she was in the room, his eyes would just naturally drift to her and he would just get this smile on his face.
Wow.
So while he's passed away and we all miss him dearly, I just can't help but thinking what he would want us to do in this time is to take care of her.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is dedicated to the lovers out there and to Drew and Ginny. And if you would like to, please help us bury a friend. So.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure that that information for the GoFundMe is in the show notes as well. And if you're able and you feel compelled to help out, I know that would mean a lot to them.
So, in honor of Valentine's Day, today I'm going to tell you a little bit about some historical courtship rituals and some modern marriage rituals that are kind of cool.
Ooh.
From all around the world. But the first one I'm going to tell you about, Rue, do you like spooning?
Yeah.
Do you like to be the big spoon or the little spoon?
It depends, honestly. It depends on how warm I am that night.
I'm going to tell you about some love spoons.
Ooh.
Okay, so love spoons were really popular in the 17th century in Wales. A man would carve an intricate symbols of his love and even his family name onto a wooden spoon's handle, and then he would give it to a woman to show that he was really ready to take their relationship to the next level. So maybe he wanted a spoon. I don't know. But modern love spoons are still available for purchase. Some even go up to, I don't know, like $150.
Damn, okay.
Or you could just, like, hit Etsy.
Well, yeah, probably.
You know what? Or, we believe in crafting here, and supposedly, feel free to get yourself a wood burner and a wooden spoon and just go at it.
I love wood burning.
I do some wood burning, too. Christy does these intricate spoons that are awesome.
Yeah, I get her to make a love spoon.
So you've heard of the phrase ride or die, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, I think...
I actually, sorry, side note, I got told by my shitty ex that I wasn't ride or die, and I was just like, okay.
I hate the phrase ride or die.
I'm cool with it, but I'm like, it's ride or die, not sit in the garage or die. Like, we gotta go somewhere, fam.
I mean, technically, you can sit in a parked car in the garage and die. That is possible.
Well, yeah, technically, I suppose.
Well, Teutonic women were very ride or die. In fact, they'd follow their loves from battlefield to battlefield during wars to nurse the wounded and feed the soldiers. And even sometimes when their loves fought, they would scream to cheer them on. In fact, some historians even refer to them as the original cheerleaders. Some of these women have even been known to rush into the battles themselves when their counterparts were facing an enemy. And to me, if that's not love, what is, right?
For sure. I mean, I'm here for, like, almost all of that.
What is the part that you're not here for?
Well, so Darnell's been in the field for most of this week, and he comes home pretty gross. And I'm just not interested in having to, like, camp with, like, that times 100. Like, if I could have, like, a ride or die RV, that would be more my speed. I just don't want to have to camp in the cold and wet and nastiness. Like, I'll cook for y'all, I'll bandage y'all. Just please don't make me sleep around y'all stinky bodies.
For me, it's like, it's the epitome of love, is if you're going to be a teammate for that person, you know? Are you going to step up? Are you guys going to be able to survive a situation together? Does he have your back? Do you have his? If some guy's running at him with a sword and you don't think he can take him, do you go in and shank the guy?
I mean, shanking is my preferred method of combat.
You know what really annoys me? Now I'm going to get on a little tangent here. Princess Bride.
Yeah?
When Wesley's getting attacked by the rodent of unusual size and Buttercup does nothing, I'm like, girl, get your butt in there! Get a stick!
That's fair.
Like,
That's
I'm
fair.
sorry, if my guy's on the ground getting attacked by a rodent of unusual size, I'm not just going to sit there gasping daintily. No, I'm going to grab a stick and I'm going to help out.
Right?
It's not going to be, let's see how he deals with the situation. Let's let him prove his manhood. No, I'm pretty sure that thing could have had rabies.
That thing has rabies of unusual size.
And there was no treatment for rabies in Princess Bride times. I don't know, but they did bring a guy back from the dead, so maybe Max would
I think rabies is easier than
have
dead.
that covered. Still, that annoys me.
Point made.
I can never get behind Princess Buttercup because of that.
I don't know that I ever really paid attention to that before.
I have very strong feelings about the Princess Bride. Most of them are awesome. That one is the one little thing that really grinds my gears, you know?
I know, and I'm a little mad at you.
Why are you mad at me?
Because I think you broke Princess Bride for me.
Okay, now you're not going to be able to unsee it. And you're going to be like, Buttercup, what are you doing?
It's going to be like the FedEx symbol when someone points out the arrow in the EX now.
What? Wait, what are you talking about?
You know, in the FedEx symbol, there's the arrow?
Wait, no, what?
Yeah. Google the FedEx logo.
Okay, give me a second to pull up the FedEx logo. Okay, got it.
Okay, so look between the E and the X.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
There it is.
You can never unsee it now. I ruined you forever, just like you ruined Princess Bride for me.
All right, touche, Bruce Spence. Touche. Huh, okay. All right, well... Okay, so perhaps you're looking to tell that special someone that you're kind of interested in them. Well, up until the Elizabethan era in England, you might do this by placing a peeled
What now?
I saw apple and my brain just was like, don't know that word all of a sudden. Alright, so up until the Elizabethan era in England, you might do this by placing a peeled apple under your arm. And this would generally take place at a ball or somewhere you'd be dancing.
Okay.
So you just put your apple under your armpit and just kind of dance around for an hour at the ball.
What?
Making sure the apple gets all nice and gross and sweaty.
Oh.
And also uncomfortable on your arm, I'm sure.
Right.
And then you would...
And sticky.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant thing. So then you would pass...
It's peeled. Like, that's so much worse.
Yeah, and they're very specific about that in the article. Like, it has to be peeled.
Okay.
Although in Austria, they would just do an apple slice, which I could get a little more behind. But, you know, to each their own.
More manageable, at least.
So then you would take the apple and pass it to your intended.
Oh.
And the goal was for them to eat the apple and thus be exposed to your scent, tying you together.
Darnell would straight up divorce me. If I was like, here's my armpit apple, he'd be like, great, here's divorce papers.
He'd be like, you know what, I could get behind the witchcraft, but the armpit apple is where I am out.
Yeah, if I just handed him an apple that was peeled and I was like, here, smell my funk.
And it's not just smell your funk, it's eat your funk. Supposedly, the pheromones were gonna do their thing and you two would, get together.
I feel like that's how you get, like, a weird, like, horse girl reputation. Is like, if you're armpit apple lady. Like, that gives me real bad, like, middle school dance vibes.
Dude, I still remember that some guy stuck his hand in the cheese sauce in middle school.
Yes!
Yeah.
And, like, that's not great, but that's not as strange as, like, here's my armpit apple.
Yeah, and maybe that's where they got, like, the poison apple from Snow White.
I guess if you smell really bad.
I mean, think about it. The apple is very symbolic, you know? You've got Adam and Eve, and even though historically that was probably a pomegranate,
yeah,
it's most depicted as an apple. So there's that, and then there's the poison apple, and then now armpit apple. You guys are welcome for that in your brain.
And look, I'm strongly Team Eve, but I would believe that if some snake was like, put this apple under your armpit peeled and make Adam eat it, that is straight up Lucifer, Satan, the devil himself. That is not good. Like, eat from this tree is one thing, but put apple from thine tree under thine armpit.
How do you even select an apple for that? I mean, are you going to go with, like, a Red Delicious?
Right.
Are we looking more Pink Lady? Something along the lines of a Granny Smith? Like, do you match it to what you think your pheromone is?
You, like, parrot wine and cheese style? I mean, I think it would be fermented fruit at that point.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of your turnoffs? Because to me, one of my biggest turnoffs is, like, crassness. I hate that in people.
Other than armpit apple?
Like, armpit apple is about as crass as all
yeah.
And that's just because I'm dabbling into historical traditions, and I wasn't going to not put armpit apple in the
you have
podcast
to.
list today. Like, that would be a foresight, right?
For me, it's like being rude to employees, like people who you think are below you.
Like rude to the server?
Yeah. Like if you're not able to treat those human beings with dignity, like I will not call you back. That for me was always something when I was on the market, that was always something that I would kind of watch out for. That was a huge red flag to me.
No, I completely 100% agree with that. I like how you used on the market and then in the market, because in one you're shopping and in the other one you're kind of being like sold off, so.
I mean, isn't that how dating works?
It is a little of both, so I just wanted to really pay some respect that you did that.
I mean, look, it's been a minute. I've forgotten some of the lingo.
So you and Darnell did kind of a quick ceremony, right? Were there any traditions or any sort of things that you implemented into your ceremony to bring a unique touch to it?
Well, we wrote our own vows.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was really special. I mean, we're both writers, so it was nice. I still have mine. They were good. Yeah.
Aww. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you about some modern wedding day traditions from around the world now. For me, I've always, and I don't know if it's just because, like, recently I've become more in touch with the Celtic side, since on this podcast I discovered that I was a lot Irish. But I've always been drawn to, like, the hand fasting ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And you want a sword?
Yeah, okay, so there's a Celtic tradition that for their wedding, the parents of the bride will gift the groom with a sword as a symbol, like he's the protector and of his family and all that. I just think it's cool because who doesn't want a free sword at their wedding? Just saying.
Fair. If
I get a wedding or if I get a wedding and we also get a sword, I'm gonna choose the sword wedding. Every time. That's just cool.
I feel you.
You know? Oh, what's that? Oh, that's great-grandpa's marriage sword. Badass, right?
We've got marriage swords and love swords and...
It's a love spoon.
Oh, excuse me. When do we get a fork? I mean, you know they say spooning leads to forking, so...
Okay, so let's talk about some wedding traditions, because that was a groaner.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Armenian couples often balance flatbread on their shoulders when they've just become newly married. This is usually done as they enter the wedding reception that's often held at the groom's home. And the reason for this is to kind of ward away evil spirits. And they eat spoonfuls of honey to symbolize happiness. And they also break a plate to symbolize good luck and good fortune.
I like that.
Yeah, do you want to balance some flatbread on your shoulders?
I'm down.
Okay, let's talk about in China. Because to ensure that a bride and a groom's love is going to last forever, the groom will shoot his bride with bows and arrows several times. But, don't worry, the arrowheads are removed. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, okay.
And then he collects the arrows and will break them during the ceremony. I don't really understand why shooting your wife with bows and arrows, even without the arrowheads, kind of translates into I'll love you forever.
Maybe he's Cupid?
Okay, but then why do you need, like, multiple?
Maybe he's a really bad shot.
Could be. So if you want to talk about an actual groomsman, in the Greek tradition, a groom's best man, or kumparos, will become his barber when he pulls out a razor and shaves his friend's face before a wedding ceremony.
Yikes.
But this is kind of cool and has a sweet side, because after he's been freshly shaved, his new mother-in-law will feed him honey and almonds. So, men, if you want to hang on to your beards, probably don't get married in Greece.
I just feel like maybe this tradition would change who I would pick to be a best man.
Oh yeah, how many times have you been a best man before?
No, I just mean, like, I don't know that my best friend who I would choose to be, like, my maid of honor would be the person who I would trust to have a razor blade against my face. Like, I love you, but I don't know that this is your skill set.
Yeah, there's a whole different level to best friend and person you would trust with a razor near your face.
Right.
That might switch up my maid of honor, too. Sorry, Lizzie.
Yeah, it's like, I love you, but you're gonna stand over here and not cut my face off.
Right. Do you like beards?
I like some stubble, but I'm not a beard girl.
I don't know. Lately I've liked beards. Like,
okay. I don't mind if it's a little scraggle, like a couple days without shaving.
I either like completely fresh shaved face or beard. I don't like the stubbly.
Yeah, see, I'm a middle grounder, if anything. I like fresh face or I like a little stubble.
So, in Japan, when a woman is celebrating a traditional Shinto ceremony, she wears white from head to toe, and this includes her makeup, kimono, and a hood called and I'm so sorry, guys, this is not going to be a smooth transition, a sukakanashu?
All right.
Did that sound right? Because it probably isn't.
I mean, sure.
Because I'm sure anyone listening to this that knows any Japanese is like, oh, that's, bad translation, Jess. But of course, white denotes her maiden status. And the hood hides the so-called horns of jealousy she feels towards her mother-in-law.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Not a fan of that part. I am my own favorite cryptid, I guess.
I still want that t-shirt.
Right?
Okay, so what is your favorite dance to do at a wedding?
I like a good Cupid shuffle.
Really? See, I hate group dances at weddings. I think they're terrible.
Okay.
And my old guy roommates would make fun of me because they would say, we're going to start the chicken dance at your wedding someday. And I'm like, if you do that, I'm going to kill you. No chicken dances at the wedding. But actually, in the West African country of Niger, there is a dance that's performed called the camel dance.
What?
And this is done at the reception, but it's done by a real camel.
Okay, I exclusively want to go to those weddings now.
Yes, right? I will find you a camel. I've got a guy.
Of course you have a guy.
And I will find you a camel. So the camel gets its groove on to kind of a rhythmic drum beat.
Oh.
And the guests will stand around it and kind of cheer the camel on. What this symbolizes, I couldn't really figure it out, but who needs...
It symbolizes camel.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna not go to a wedding where a camel dances.
Right?
Yeah, just like, right on the invitation, open bar, camel dance. Done. RSVP'd. You're getting the best thing on your registry.
Straight up. When COVID is over, no camel equals no invite for Rue.
In Venezuela, I absolutely love this one. During the reception, it is tradition for the newlyweds to sneak away before the party has come to an end. And it's said that if they don't get caught, it's really good luck for them. But if they do get noticed by some guest, whichever guests catch on that they're gone, will be benefited by good luck as well.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. Let's go back to those Celtic roots.
Okay.
And we're going to stop by Ireland on this one. When the bride and groom are dancing, the bride must keep at least 1 foot on the floor at all times.
Oh.
Because this states if she doesn't, evil fairies can come and sweep her away.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want the fae to come sweep you away at your wedding, take your feet off the ground.
I should have done that at my first wedding. I've just been hopping all over the place.
Jump, everybody now.
Straight up.
All right, let's go to Peru.
All right.
Because in Peruvian weddings, the cake is typically assembled with ribbons attached to charms.
Oh.
And on one of these ribbons, the charm is a fake wedding ring. During the reception, all of the single women in attendance participate in the cake pull, in which they all line up and grab a ribbon from the cake, and they pull the ribbons out of the cake, and whoever has the fake wedding ring is said to be the next to get married.
That feels like your cake would need to be really structurally sound.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the cake kind of just deteriorates and then everybody gets a hunk of cake.
Okay, that's kind of sweet.
That is sweet, because cake is sweet. So those were some modern wedding day traditions, as well as some ancient historical courtship rituals. I hope that whatever you guys are doing for Valentine's Day, whether you be single, in a relationship, looking, whatever, you have an amazing day.
Yeah.
And just remember, if your Valentine's Day sucks, and I've had a lot of sucky Valentine's Days. I've gotten dumped on Valentine's, like, a lot.
Oh,
like,
no.
A lot. Oh, yeah. Like, it's always Valentine's Day. It's happened, like, 3 times. It's like they get past the birthday and they're just like, peace out.
Oh.
Anyway, just remember that February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day candy goes on sale and is extremely marked down.
There you go.
So that can be your holiday if you feel like it.
Well, happy Valentine's Day and happy birthday.
Thank you. I tried to look into some of the greatest lovers from history, and I disagreed with every list that I found out there, and I'm like, this is going to be too much of a deep dive because I disagree with all of these.
Yeah, if Romeo and Juliet or Harley Quinn and Joker are your couple's goals, you need a new personality. I'll die on that hill. Are you good?
Yeah, I thought a bug ran down my side, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It's just my headphone cord.
All right. Well, this is hard to follow because yours was very nice, and mine is very not.
That's why I wanted to go first, in case, like, they want to leave on a good note, you know?
Okay. So you should just leave now.
Well, just before things take a little bit of a darker turn, and, you know.
Okay.
Also, yeah.
All right. So in addition to this week being Valentine's Day, are you good?
I'm having a problem, and you shouldn't point it out.
Okay. All right. I'm just gonna let you live.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So, in addition to this week being Valentine's Day and your birthday, it is also when Netflix is putting out another true crime doc.
Oh.
If you watched The Night Stalker,
happy birthday to me.
Right? They did a great job with Night Stalker, so I'm very excited to see what they will do with this one.
Okay.
And so this week, I am covering the disappearance and death of Elisa Lam.
Oh, I'm so ready for this.
Which I know a lot of people know about, but I tried to kind of bring some different aspects to it.
By the way, Rue and I both independently finished Ghost Adventures at the Cecil Hotel, which features a little bit of the story, and I gotta tell you, that was extremely in poor taste.
It comes up. I'll get into that, don't
right.
you worry, because after I did my notes, I was like, a little Ghost Adventures, just as a treat. And then I was like, oh no, and I texted you and I was like, please watch this. Please don't let me suffer alone. It's so bad. It hurts so much.
And then the second you said that, I'm like, finding it.
All right. Hold on. I need to drink some wine. This is rough.
Drink some wine. I'm going to eat some of my olive Coke.
All right. I just got my flight booked. Vancouver, January 18th to the 22nd. San Diego, January 22nd to 27th. And the rest is to be written. Elisa Lam wrote on her Tumblr on January 7th, 2013.
Oh, I hate when we can hear it in their own words, but I also like it too because it adds to the story. Why do you have to hit me right in the feels, Rue?
I know. There's going to be a couple of her entries.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay.
So Elisa was 21 years old, and she was a student at the University of British Columbia. She loved fashion, especially cute shoes, which was something she shared in common with her sister Sarah. She was a quirky, nerdy girl with a love of Sherlock, the MCU, The Great Gatsby was her favorite book, and she had a penchant for moody cafe lighting and mysterious Tumblr-era quotes.
Ooh, she's right up our alley.
I was going to say, like, looking on her Tumblr, which is still active, or it's like it's still up, it's shocking to me how similar our 2012 era social media looked.
Really?
She had a post that said, "Respect my eyebrows if nothing else." And I don't know that I've ever related to anything more. I was like, yes.
I can never get my eyebrows right.
My eyebrows are the one thing I nail every time.
I don't even respect my own eyebrows.
So Elisa was the daughter of immigrants from Hong Kong who'd settled in Vancouver, where they opened Paul's Restaurant in Burnaby, just outside of Vancouver. So we're up in Canada.
Yep, that is Vancouver.
Elisa was excited to set out on what she called her West Coast tour. It was going to be a solo journey where she would see San Diego and other sites. See the San Diego Zoo. She was super excited to see the zoo and posted a lot of cute animal pictures. And this trip kind of had big find myself energy. Like, it seemed like she was going to kind of figure out what she wanted and how to get it. And I mean, she's 21, so I'm going to California. I live in Canada. I'm going to go do cool stuff. My parents won't be there. It just had that young, youthful vibe.
I'm going to blog about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So her parents were nervous at the idea of her traveling alone in a different country, but they wanted her to be able to have the experience. And so on January 25th, she wrote on her Tumblr, "Today I slept, took a long hot shower, stuffed myself silly with a $3 dinner. It has been the most productive and enjoyable. I have seriously done nothing in San Diego that is outside of my normal routine at home. I do what I want. After all, I like my home comforts, and every now and then I do something entirely impulsive and reckless, like tell a guy I just met I like him. I do like people watching at the hostel. Now that I'm rested and well, starting tomorrow, I should venture outside more. Number 1, SeaWorld. Number 2, the zoo. Number 3, museum because it's free. Number 4, whale watching at Coronado/Point Loma. Elisa stayed in touch with her friends and family every day, and she constantly told them how much fun she was having and how good the trip was. On January 28th, she checked into the Cecil Hotel, which is now rebranded as the Stay on Main, and that was after she made an online reservation, changing from where she had been staying. Now, as probably everyone knows, this hotel has a sordid past, and it's kind of already on probably both of our lists to cover at some point in the future.
Oh, man. So much stuff has popped off at the Cecil, guys. Like, you have no idea. Well, you probably do if you're on this podcast. You probably already know. Have you ever been to the Cecil Hotel area?
I've never been to the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah. I've been, and I gotta tell you, it's kind of a rough neighborhood where it's located at. It's already
I'm gonna get into
high crime rate. And there is a great little burger place next to it that sells burgers, but the buns are pizza. So, check that out.
Oh, that's very on brand for you.
Yeah, and they have this sign in the window. I'll have to post it because I took a picture of it that says, "No, we don't know about the Cecil Hotel. Don't ask us. Go over there, ask them." Something like that.
I like it. I think one of the most interesting facts, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this hotel later because it becomes kind of relevant. I think one of the most interesting fun facts is that it was the inspiration in part for American Horror Story Hotel. That season was based on the Cecil. And so Elisa checked into one of their hostel-style rooms because it was a cheaper option for young travelers. So she was staying in a shared room with other young people.
I didn't know that they had that sort of setup. Cool.
Yeah, the Cecil had short-term, you're here for 3 nights. They also had long-term where it was almost like an apartment where people lived. And then they had these kind of youth hostel areas. So like you said, the area is in Skid Row, which is kind of considered a forgotten area. It's home to thousands of people experiencing homelessness, and since the Great Depression, this area, which covers about 50 city blocks, was a place where seasonal workers would end up kind of just stuck after their seasonal jobs ended. Honestly, we could do a whole episode about Skid Row too, just because basically a lot of not good stuff has happened in this area. And a huge part of that is when the city of LA decided that they needed to, quote, clean up the streets, and that translated to raids on homeless communities. Part of why the crime rate that you were talking about in Skid Row is so high is because it's illegal to do everything there. During 2 years of the 2006 Safer Cities Initiative, there were 18,000 arrests and 24,000 citations for nonviolent offenses, including jaywalking, littering, and sitting on the sidewalk.
Okay.
This area experiences 69 times the rate of policing as the rest of Los Angeles. So it's kind of one of those things where I believe the numbers are a little bit inflated to make it look worse, because when they're like, we have the highest arrest rates, and it's like, yeah, but you arrested people for sitting down.
Right.
It's like, I know some not great stuff does happen there, but it's like, I don't know that it's as bad as they'd like you to believe it is. Because there's also a huge sense of community in this area. It's home to a lot of artists who've collaborated on some incredible murals. They have weekly karaoke nights. I mean, probably pre-pandemic. But it's kind of a place where people who are down on their luck go and find a sense of community. And a lot of times that is people who are experiencing mental illness. It's people who are kind of drifters who don't want to live on the grid. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the area. A few days into her stay, the people staying in the shared room with Elisa asked for her to be moved because she was, quote, acting strange. And from what I could tell, even through hours of Reddit sleuthing, is that these roommates were never really interviewed, nor have they spoken publicly about what took place. Which surprises me a little bit, just because this case has such a following.
Right. Well, I don't know. Were they all from the U.S. or were they from around the world?
I don't know.
If it's a hostile type situation.
Yeah, but you'd think everyone's looking for their 5 minutes of fame. This case kind of blew up internationally, that I think even if you were from, like, Brazil, you'd be like, oh, I stayed with the girl. So it's just interesting to me. So she ended up being given her own private room.
What kind of behavior was she exhibiting?
Just acting odd. That's all they say.
Okay.
Which is, like, so unhelpful, because there's so many different ways to, quote, be odd. I don't know. And also, like, it's a youth hostel, so they're all young. Could it have just been petty? Like, oh, she's just mopey and, like, listening to sad girl music and on her Tumblr, like, she's bringing the vibe down.
Could be. Maybe she's just acting a little radically, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, we just don't know because they never really spoke more publicly about it. January 31st is the day that she was set to check out, And this day she made no phone calls, which was bizarre because, like I said, she'd been super engaged with checking in with all of her friends and family. So it was a little weird that they didn't hear from her. And her parents really quickly became concerned, and they called the Vancouver police. The Vancouver police told them to get in touch with the LAPD, where they filed a missing persons report. So the LAPD did a routine search, and they went to the Cecil and interviewed the staff, who did recall seeing her on the 31st, but not since. Elisa had also visited a bookstore nearby. She was remembered by the manager there as being friendly, lively, outgoing, and that she was buying gifts to take home to her friends and family and was worried about whether or not the books would be too heavy to put in her suitcase.
Okay, so she had plans definitely to return.
Yep. So the search continues for weeks. Until during a press conference, 6 days after Elisa went missing, an important clue was released. And this is probably what everyone knows when they think of this case. And that's about 2 minutes or so of elevator footage from the hotel that shows Elisa doing some interesting stuff. So the footage of the elevator that was released, to me, is one of the most unique parts of the case, just because it kind of defies explanation. The camera's up in one of the corners, and it shows most of the elevator and the area directly in front in the hallway. In the video, Elisa's alone, and she's wearing a red hoodie, a light t-shirt, black basketball shorts, and sandals. And here's kind of what she does. So she gets in the elevator, and she bends down to look at the buttons. And I think it's worth noting that she's not wearing her glasses, so maybe it's because she's struggling to see the numbers that she bends down.
That makes sense.
But then she just sort of stands there, and nothing really happens, so she steps forward and, looks out of the elevator, I believe, to her right. And then she leans her whole self out of the elevator, almost like in a runner's lunge, to see if there's anyone out in the hallway where we can't see. She then presses herself against the side wall and then against the corner where the control panel is. And to me, it does look like she's a little bit scared at this point. She stands in the threshold of the elevator and peers to the right again. She takes a cautious step out and then sort of kind of hops and then sort of sidesteps in a legs open, legs apart, legs open, leg closed sort of way a few times. And she is doing some slightly jerky movements. She's mostly off camera for a little bit, but you can see her gesticulating with her right arm some. Eventually, she comes back on the elevator and seems to be steadying herself. She's holding onto the walls and seems a little discombobulated. She presses 4 buttons on the elevator twice, and then what I think might be the door open button many times. She's push, 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 push. And then she pushes a bunch of buttons and then goes back out, stands mostly out of the frame again, then turns to her right where she's mostly in frame and starts waving her hands in what almost looks like a can we not, kind of dismissing gesture mixed with Velma trying to find her glasses. It's kind of a patting, but a little more bro. And then she continues to gesticulate, almost like she's talking with her hands. And at one point, she seems to clasp her hands together, almost pleadingly. If you're please, please, please. And then she exits to the left, and 30 seconds after she leaves, the elevator doors shut. So that's kind of interesting to me that, nothing happened. Because she was out of the elevator talking to herself or somebody for a significant amount of time. But then the doors shut after she's gone. So that's a little bizarre. Some people have said that waving her hands almost looks like when people are swimming, kind of the 70s dance that you would do. And that kind of becomes potentially relevant later. So body language experts were actually brought in to review the footage, and they claim that her movements don't actually indicate fear, but they almost seem playful, like she's trying to get the attention of someone that she was attracted to. They also believe that her movements could have been a result of a party drug.
Okay, the party drug, I would kind of understand.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Look, I'm the most awkward flirter ever. We've talked about it multiple times. I could never even see a situation where I try to awkward 1970s swim dance at someone.
Yeah. They're just saying kind of the way she's moving seems how you would flirt. So, I don't know. It doesn't look flirtatious to me, but I don't have a degree in this.
I don't see that as flirtatious at all.
Yeah.
I've seen the footage and I wouldn't call it that.
I wouldn't either. It looks a little paranoid to me. You're ugh, someone are they there? Are they not? But that's what they said. Most of the armchair sleuths on Reddit and other websites think that Elisa was in fear and hiding from somebody, which is kind of what I lean to. And they also hypothesize that a hotel employee must have been involved in order for the doors not to close. But it's actually more likely that the doors stayed open because she was pushing the door open button, which I think is what she was push, 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 push.
Yeah.
also apparently in older elevator models. And remember, the hotel was built in the 30s. I don't know how often the elevators have been replaced.
And if you've seen any footage of these elevators, they are clearly dated.
Yeah, they are. But apparently in these older models, if you push too many buttons at once, like, go full Will Ferrell and Elf on them, it'll make the elevator stall for a couple minutes. It, overwhelms the sensors, and it just stays, which could have also been what happened. It is bizarre, though, that some people have noted that in some of the frames, it almost seems like Elisa's mouth is pixelated.
Interesting. I haven't noticed that.
Like it's almost been doctored.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not great footage.
It is edited at one point.
It is. There's a chunk missing from the timestamps.
From that timestamp, yeah.
Yeah. On a Chinese site similar to YouTube, the video of the elevator footage got over 3 million views in the first 10 days. So like I said, even if you're not from the United States,
you've heard of it.
This was international, and so that's why I'm so surprised no one that saw her spoke up about hey, yeah, we did ask her to move rooms. Mm-hmm. Okay, so unfortunately, Elisa's case grows cold. There's no information about where she could be. No one has come forward knowing anything, and it's starting to look like there's never going to be any answers. There's kind of this, I wonder if she's just now one of the LA wanderers sort of attitude coming about. And during this time, the phone at the front desk of the Cecil Hotel starts ringing off the hook with guest complaints. Guests are saying that there was an issue with the water. That when you would turn the taps on, it would come out black or brown at first until it regulated, and the water pressure just wasn't quite right. Sabina Bao and her husband were staying at the Cecil in February of 2013 on a vacation from Britain. And she told CNN, the shower was awful. When you turned the tap on, the water was coming out black for the first 2 seconds, and then it was going back to normal. The tap water tasted horrible. It had a very funny, sweety, disgusting taste. It was a strange taste. I can barely describe it. They didn't complain while they were there because she said, we never thought anything of it. We just thought that was the way it was here. And on behalf of all Americans, I'm sorry that you have such a low regard for America that you're like, yeah, your water is just probably black sometimes. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Sometimes it is. In a lot of places in America, sometimes it is.
I also gotta say, this case is one that I'm very familiar with, and it's given me a huge hang-up, and I have never drunk hotel tap water after hearing this case. I go buy bottled water, and I'll stick it in the hotel.
I was telling my little sister the same thing, and she was just like, yeah, I don't think I can ever drink water. And literally, when we were in New York, we stayed in a hotel, and the water came out a little off-colored once. I saw work trucks a block away that they were working in the mains, but I was still
nope.
We're gonna get some bottled water because I'm not here for this. Anyway.
Let's get some Evian up in here.
Anything. And so all of these calls, because there were many, led to the Cecil Hotel maintenance staff being called to inspect the water tanks up on the roof, thinking that maybe there was an issue with the pipe work. They couldn't have been prepared for what was found. On Friday, February 19th, the maintenance worker opened one of the 4 by 8 foot, 1,000-gallon water tanks and discovered Elisa's naked body along with her clothing floating in it and called the authorities. Her body had been floating in the tank and decomposing for 19 days while other guests brushed their teeth, bathed, and drank water that came directly from that tank.
That still gets me.
You think that's gross? Just wait.
Oh, great. Is it grosser than armpit apple?
Isn't it already?
Yeah.
At least armpit apple is alive.
What?
You're alive when you're armpit appling.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you...
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. So even grosser, the hotel remained open despite police issuing a no water order because of the health risks of drinking decomposition tea. So basically, because of capitalism, the hotel's just like, hi, thank you for staying with us. Here's some bottled water. And if you could just sign this waiver that says, we understand that you have dead body water, that'd be great.
Sorry, booking a room elsewhere.
Right.
Looks like we're going for an Airbnb tonight. Thanks for the dead body water waiver, but gonna pass.
I try really hard to not go full Karen, and I never want to leave a 1-star review and be that guy. But if you hand me a dead body water waiver, we're gonna have a problem. I know I said earlier one of my turn-offs is being rude, but I'm a not have a good time with you if you say you got dead body water.
I also gotta point out, you've mentioned how, what the area is like I mean, some of these people that are staying there probably don't have a lot of options or on a very low income trying to make a trip for themselves. So I am very sorry for the people that were staying from other countries who just thinks, oh, maybe America just has dead body water.
Yeah. And so everyone had to sign this waiver, apparently, except for the fact that some people who'd been staying at the hotel during that time said that the first they heard of any of this was by watching the news. So maybe the hotel was just kind of saying they did that to protect themselves.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just picturing the lawyer on the phone that's like, what, you need a waiver for what? Dead body water? I have to write a dead body water waiver today. Oh, that's Cecil Hotel.
Probably the same company that does, like, Wiener Insurance or whatever we talked about that one time.
Was it erection insurance?
Yeah. But no, my brain goes to, hi, I'm Ruth Spence, and this is the 6 o'clock news. Tonight, the Cecil Hotel has been discovered to have a dead body floating in the water tank. And you're sitting on a Cecil Hotel bed watching the news and being like,
with tap hand and water.
Okay. That's fine. Like, no, not a fan.
Pulling up Google Flights. How can I get out of here
I
soon?
need to leave the country, the hotel, all of it.
I'll get one of those pizza burgers on the way to the flight.
Yeah. Oh, and apparently the tanks, so there were 4 of them. I'm not sure which connected to which. I mean, clearly the one that Elisa was found in connected to the hotel. But this same reservoir system was also attached to a kitchen and a restaurant and a cafe.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
According to the hotel, the roof was locked and alarmed, but it's kind of pretty common knowledge that none of this is true, and the door is often propped open with a wedge for employees to go up there to take their smoke breaks, which is, again, like lie number 2 for the hotel. And I'm going to just call this hotel out because technically they're defunct now. It's no more. They have rebranded, so I can talk shit on a closed hotel, and I'm talking shit.
Yeah, go for it.
Because they're like, oh, yeah.
If you just Google the Cecil, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go for it. I know.
They're like, oh, yeah, sign this waiver that you never actually got asked to sign. And also, yeah, we totally lock it. So I think it's one of those, like, they told the authorities, like, oh, yeah, it's always locked and alarmed, in the way that I would be like, yeah, I always take my makeup off at night. Like, of course I do. I don't. Like, it's one of those, like, we don't. Everyone smokes up there.
Yeah,
like,
we totally wear our bras in nature. That's a thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 100% a thing. This has kind of been proven. So there was a young person from China who came to stay at the hotel and kind of try and do some investigating on what happened. And he posted a video of himself getting up on the roof super easily, not alarmed, no nothing. Just like, yep, you could totally do this. So, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the autopsy. Elisa was diagnosed with bipolar and depression, and she had several prescriptions to treat her mental health. She was prescribed Dexedrine, which is a stimulant for ADD and ADHD, Lamictal, which is a mood stabilizer, Seroquel, an antipsychotic prescribed for schizophrenia, bipolar, major depressive disorder, Effexor, which is an SNRI antidepressant, used to treat major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, panic, and social phobia, as well as the antidepressant Wellbutrin.
Yeah.
She was on a lot. On February 21st, the coroner released the cause of death. They found no evidence or trauma or any implications of suicide. And I guess what I'm imagining they're looking for with suicide is like that she didn't overdose. And the toxicology report found that she'd taken some of her meds the day she died, some a few days prior, and some not for a couple days.
Okay, that's a red flag to me right there. I grew up with a bipolar sister, and I know, like, when they're off their meds, they can behave a little erratically. Though I've never seen any, like, her body language in the elevator is still what I would think to be too erratic even for bipolar.
Yeah. So potentially part of it is that the drugs that she had taken, when not taken in tandem with the other drugs she was supposed to take, can cause kind of a psychotic episode. So it can actually make your psychotic features worse.
Makes sense,
yeah. So it's one of those, like, you're not on your meds and you chose to take the meds that are not going to help you if you're not going to take all of them. She also didn't
Right,
have any
okay.
recreational drugs or alcohol in her system, though it is possible that when she went into the tank, she was on a substance, but that she lived long enough that it processed out of her body. So it's one of those, like, she could have been
Okay.
intoxicated, but not when she died. Like, maybe earlier in the day she was, but not then.
Mhm.
Because of this state of decomp, the tox
Right.
screens had to be taken from her heart and liver, which leaves some things up to interpretation at the coroner's discretion. So it's not necessarily as concrete as a blood test.
Cut and dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so ultimately her death was ruled as an accidental drowning with bipolar disorder as a significant factor. From her blogs, it's easy to tell that she struggled with anxiety and depression. And in fact, one of her most eerie entries is simply, "I really need to be removed from society before my big mouth gets me in trouble and I get beaten up."
I mean, I feel like I've said worse stuff than that, just on a daily basis.
I have too,
like, but the removed from society is interesting phrasing.
But it's one of those things, if you're thinking it's foul play,
yeah,
you know, something happened to her, that it's like, before I get beaten up, like, yikes. I wonder if she'd felt threatened at some point, or, yeah. And she'd also, because of her mental health, struggled in college to complete her courses, and despite having been in school for 3 years, stated that she still held first-year status because she'd been unable to complete classes and was disappointed in herself for having what she called a breakdown that forced her to withdraw from courses.
Okay. So she's really struggled.
She has. It's hard. In high school, she'd been an advanced student and was very self-disciplined, always working towards academic excellence. But then, I mean, I think what happened to so many people, kind of myself included, is that you're a big fish in a little pond in high school, and you're really smart and you're really great, and then you get to college and you're not special anymore, and it's hard to find your place because you haven't made a place for yourself other than being the smart kid.
Gotcha.
Because she worked so hard on that. She was also in high school a part of the cross-country and track and field teams, but stopped running after high school and lamented, kind of almost to the point of shaming herself, that she lacked discipline to continue running and was too self-conscious to go to the gym. She even talked on her blog about being scared of getting cankles now that she wasn't running, and that she didn't like her legs, though she said that she was pretty comfortable in her body. Like, this is really, her blog is just a 21-year-old kid. Like,
yeah, definitely.
She talked about whatever she wanted to, and it was so authentic and so vulnerable. She was a self-proclaimed introvert, and even though she had an outgoing personality and became really optimistic when she was around her friends, she spent a lot of time alone recharging. But that kind of then led to a cycle of loneliness and feelings of worthlessness, which is something I kind of understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm introverted as well, and I like to be around people, but I need my me time, but then I'm by myself, and I'm like, oh, no one actually likes you. And then I'm like, okay, time to go outside again. From the information that I was able to find, it seems that for most of her life, her parents tried to conceal her diagnoses. And I think part of that is that it's a cultural taboo to talk about. That's kind of what I was able to find. And so remember, they're from Hong Kong, where mental health is still not as readily talked about. And Elisa was very vocal about it, and I don't know that her parents loved that.
Well, that could be a struggle in her own right, too.
For sure, if you feel like your parents aren't.
That she can vocalize this stuff and you feel like your parents are ashamed of your diagnosis.
100%.
Yeah.
And actually, at the time that the missing person report was filed, her parents withheld information about her diagnoses, likely believing that her case wouldn't get attention if it was just kind of chalked up to being her mental illness. So like you said, being in Skid Row, that maybe she's just heading out and like, I'm going to go live in Skid Row now, bye.
I mean, I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Cecil. If you listen to the show, you probably already know this, so I'm just going to kind of bullet it. During its operation, over 100 people have died by suicide while staying here. It was also kind of a hideout for both serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and Jack Unterweger, who was another serial killer who was kind of inspired by Richard Ramirez. The hotel bar is supposedly one of the last places the Black Dahlia was ever seen. And Pigeon Goldie Osgood, a long-term resident of the hotel, was brutally assaulted and murdered in her room. And that's just a couple of the more known cases. So this hotel has seen some shit.
Yeah, there was also a woman who gave birth in secret and dropped her baby from a window.
Yeah, it's
not the best place. Can't have the best energy.
No, because of how much death and how many douchebags, looking at you, Richard, this hotel has seen, people believe that there are for sure spirits, but even maybe something darker. And this has led people to believe that potentially Elisa was possessed, or here we go, get ready for this one, that she was being tormented by the spirit of Richard Ramirez, who was still alive at the time, and he made her kill herself.
That's an interesting trick from someone who's in prison awaiting...
death by cancer, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he died by cancer? Wasn't he supposed to be executed, though, and then that happened?
He was, but then he pulled the douchebag serial killer move of, oh, don't you want this cold case to get solved?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I did that too, and if you don't kill me, I'll tell you what happened. And so he got to die by cancer like a fuckstick. Okay. Sorry, I really hate him a lot.
No, as most people should. This is not a person that should be glorified in any way.
Yeah. If we are going on the ghost tangent, what's semi-plausible, because Richard Ramirez was alive, but some people say that because he was a self-proclaimed Satanist, that while he was staying in the hotel, he conjured a demon who now lives in the hotel, and that demon was bothering her.
All right, look. We are supposedly,
Yep.
so of course we're going to go on a ghost tangent here.
Yep.
I don't know if I buy the summoned a demon that terrorizes the hotel thing.
Yeah.
I believe that place probably has some terrible energy, and do I believe
Exactly.
it's haunted? Probably, most likely, definitely.
Yeah.
But to go as far as to say that he summoned a demon that lives in the hotel is, I don't know.
I also feel like that gives him too much credit, and we already know how I feel about him, so...
Exactly. I think that's what bothers me about it.
Yeah.
It means that, like, in his free time, that's what he's doing, and really he's out committing a ton of murders. He did some art, like...
I think it's one of those things that, like, summoning a demon sounds cool, and he's not cool. He's a fucking terrible person.
Yeah.
So, I don't believe the demon theory, and I actually find that line of thinking incredibly damaging and invalidating to people who struggle with mental health. But like you said, I do believe that this much collective trauma can absorb some bad vibes. And my cocktail of mental health diagnoses, and I've talked to you, and I've talked to some of my friends, my little sister, who also have their own struggles. And a lot of us who are somewhere on this mental health spectrum seem to feel like the veil's a little bit thinner for us, especially when you're not in a good headspace. And so I feel like if there is some not good vibes and you're not in a good place, that those things kind of pick up on you a little bit more. I don't think that means demonic possession. I think it means this hotel has seen a lot of shit, and you're in a place in your life where you've seen a lot of shit, and I think it sees you see that, and I think it can use that energy. Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's safe to say it's not a happy place, but that's as far as I'm comfortable going. But guess who wanted to go there?
Zach Baggins.
Zach Baggins.
I mean, a lot of people want to go there. I want to go there. I want to check it out.
No, I mean want to go to the It's a Demon.
Oh! No, I thought you meant to the hotel to investigate it.
Zach Baggins wants to think it's a demon.
Zach Baggins wants to think everything is a demon, though.
When in reality, he is the demon. So last month, they did a special episode at the Cecil, and he got all giddy because he was like, we are the last film crew that will ever be allowed to record inside the Cecil Hotel. Which I feel like is just because they're rebranded as the Stay on Main now.
Right.
Like, technically the Cecil Hotel is gone, but it's the same building.
No, that's definitely what he did.
He was just a total moose about the whole fucking thing. And as you know, there are some really trashy drowning B-roll reenactments and other horrible death scenes. It's not a good time.
All right. I'm just going to say this right now. What year did her murder take place?
2013.
2013, okay.
Yeah.
This is a victim whose family is still very much alive. And then you're going to do B-roll enactments of her drowning nude in a water tank.
It's...
Like, it just shows no respect to the family, to the case, anything. You need to handle things tactfully, and that is not tactfully in my book.
I just don't think...
And it does a huge disservice to her.
And I don't think that in a ghost hunting show... there's a need to show death reenactments. Just show me the ghosts. I can conceptualize what it means when someone died.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I get that. I know what dying looks like. You don't have to graphically show it to me when I think her little sister Sarah could be flipping through the channels and accidentally see it one day.
Absolutely, I agree. No, I'm all here for other reenactments of things that have taken place that maybe lead up to it, certain clues being found.
Sure.
Go for it, but let's show some respect and some dignity to those who are no longer with us.
And I feel like Ghost Adventures has not got a great track record of this, as you and I have seen certain episodes where it's just repeatedly people shooting themselves in the head. And I'm like, I don't need to see that 7 times in an hour-long episode. I don't. That doesn't contribute anything to my visual experience.
Or to the plot, even.
Exactly.
You can say it without,
Yeah. But Zach believes, of course, that something else happened to her, saying, and this is what I mean when I say he's a total fucking moose about it,
Okay.
Did her bipolar disorder contribute to her situation? Or was there a dark and powerful entity taking advantage of Elisa's state of mind? And to call it a situation is so not cool, dude. Like, your whole situation. Like, ew, stop. Don't be him.
Like you said, they have a track record of not handling mental health in any regards positively, so I don't know why we would expect anything more from him at this point.
I know.
So it's just moot.
So, if we're going to talk about this case, we have to talk about the elevator game. And
of course we do.
The elevator game is essentially like a creepypasta from Korea, and it's supposed to be a way to enter a different dimension. And I actually am like super terrified of this because it's really well written in its original form. And I originally heard this in And That's Why We Drink covered this case, and they brought it up, and that was my first time hearing about this. And I was listening to this episode in my elevator in my building, which meets the criterion for the elevator game, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna take the stairs from the 12th floor every day.
What is the criteria for the elevator game? Does it have to be a specific elevator?
So I wrote this out. I wasn't sure if you'd want me to cover it because it's kind of extra, but I'm gonna talk about how to do it because Zach did it, and Zach was
dabble it a little bit.
Dork in it. So you need a building that's 10 stories high with an elevator. You have to get into the elevator alone, go up to the 4th floor, but stay on and push the button for the 2nd floor. Basically, you go a whole bunch of different floors and you always stay on. But when you get to the 5th floor at one of the steps, a young woman may enter the elevator. Do not look at her. Do not speak to her. She is not what she seems. Then you go down to the 1st floor, and if the elevator goes up to the 10th floor instead of going down, you proceed. If it goes down to the 1st floor, get out as soon as the doors open. Do not look back. Do not speak. If you go to the 10th floor, you can get off the elevator or stay on. If you get off, the woman who got on the 5th floor will ask where you're going. Do not answer her. Do not look at her. You will know whether you made it or not to the other world if you're the only person present. And then basically you do that in reverse to get back to our dimension that we exist in. So I found this all, you can find it all on theghostinmymachine.com if you want to look into it more and learn all the rules because it's super complicated and long.
You know what it sounds like? Pain in the ass for anybody waiting on the elevator.
Right, thank you. And like also looking at the elevator footage of Elisa, this is too many steps for her to just commit to memory. So Zach did it and he got cold as hell. And then goes, is there somebody in here with me? Are you the lady? And then he looks down at his printed instructions, because you need printed instructions.
You really would for this game, or like to have it on your cell phone at all times.
Yeah, and says, she may appear as a stranger who wishes to engage with you. I didn't see nobody. I felt something. It is important that you do not acknowledge her. Well, it's too late because I already acknowledged the wind. And then he starts screaming, why did I not read these directions before I started doing this? Bleep!
Keeping it classy at the Cecil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why did I not read these directions?
That's me like every time I make rice-a-roni.
Yep. So there is some speculation that someone, potentially a hotel employee, who knew the hotel well, murdered her and dumped her body. Some people claim that this is strengthened by the weight of the tank lid, that she would have struggled to lift it.
Yeah, let's talk about the weight of the tank lid for a second. How much does that thing weigh?
It's only 30 pounds, which someone of Elisa's physical capabilities could have totally lifted up.
Yeah, how tall was she? About what weight was she?
I think about average height. She was slim, but I think she's, average height, maybe a little short. Just judging by the hotel elevator. height.
I feel like you could lift 30 pounds pretty easy.
My thinking on this is that she could lift it easily from the outside, but the water...
But not from the end.
So the tank is 8 feet tall, and the water was 2 feet down in the tank. So it was 6 feet of water, and there was 2 feet of airspace at the top of the tank. And so you're not able to get purchase, so you're kind of free-floating, slippery, there's nothing to grab onto. It would be really hard to push 30 pounds up when you're sinking every time you try and push on it.
Would you say that these little planters above my head are probably about 2 feet above me?
Those are like probably 4 feet.
Okay.
Your wingspan is your body height. And so 2 feet is, I think, like most of my arm because I'm 5'8". So
yeah, I don't see how that would be easy to do.
It would be tough.
I don't think you could,
because every time that she would push up, she would probably push herself down into the water. And if she is 5'5", let's say, average height, she's got 7 inches of tank full of water to try and push through.
Also, why would you close it behind you?
Well, some people think that it may have just been gravity. That if she didn't...
That's a fair thing, yeah.
Open it all the way, that it shut behind her, and then she's like, oh, shit.
Okay, that's fair.
There's some conspiracy, and this is just the weirdest thing. So, because we're talking about an area that has some less than ideal circumstances, people often have a higher risk of contracting tuberculosis, and so TB tests were really common in Skid Row.
Mm-hmm.
And around that time, the common test was, wait for this, the lipoarabinomannan enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay.
Is that where they cut your thumb and you have to bleed on the paper squares like a bunch?
Maybe. It's either that or a pee test. I think it might be a urine test on this one.
Last time I was tested for TB, you have to, I had to do that to get some hospital clearance once. It involved a lot of poking and bleeding on several circles on a piece of paper.
I've had one that they almost graft your shoulder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But so they have a pee test now?
I think that's what this one was. But so you remember that super complicated scientific word that I mispronounced?
Okay.
The lipoarabinomannan enzyme.
Yeah, okay, yes, that.
So it was actually on the market by its acronym, because it's super hard to say that.
Of course.
And its acronym is Lam Elisa.
Okay.
It started being used a year or two before she was in the area, but it's just really freaking weird because that's not a common initial acronym. It's very strange to me.
Okay, does that have anything to do with her toxicology report or anything?
No. I mean, she didn't have any tuberculosis that we know of or anything like that. But it's just really weird that in this area, there was a test literally with the same name. And that's not a common name. Yeah. Elisa itself is not a common name. Lam is
I don't know. I find that just to be coincidental.
Okay, but it's the biggest coincidence of your life. I don't think it's anything meaningful.
No, why? Why is it the biggest coincidence of my life?
Because out of how many letters are in the alphabet, it's the exact amount of letters.
I get that, but if it has nothing to do with the case other than the fact that the name is shared, I just don't...
All right. It's just...
I don't see that as being anything other than, okay.
Yeah, but it's so mind-boggling. You know what I mean?
I think we have different definitions of mind-boggling.
I guess, because I will die on this hill. The fact... If there was a test just randomly that was the ribosome umbrella elephant...
I'm sorry, what the hell are they testing for? What would that even mean?
I don't know. I really struggled with words there. But I'm just saying, if I ended up in the same area that there's a Rue Spence test, I'm the only Rue Spence I know. It would be weird.
Yeah, but if it has nothing to do with you,
I know, it's just bizarre. Some people think that there was a conspiracy where people were like, hey, that sounds like a chick's name, and catfished her, maybe for the purposes of sex trafficking. I don't really understand because it's a really half-baked theory.
First of all, okay, I'm going to stop you right there because one, the human traffickers are not going to be like, hey, here's the name of a tuberculosis test. Let's try to find a person to catfish and put on the market that matches that of the tuberculosis test.
I don't think it's legit either.
Why?
It's just weird to me that it's the same, that part is just always so shocking.
I just don't even know what that has to do with anything.
All right. Okay, well, listeners, tell us if you think it's weird or not. Are you team Jessi, it's not weird, or are you team Rue, it's weird as hell?
It's a coincidence, but it has nothing to do with the story, and I don't know where they get human traffickers are like, oh, we know the name of this tuberculosis test. It sure would be nice to find someone who has the name of that tuberculosis test. That way we could sell them for... Just why not just abduct anybody off the street and call them that if that was the goal?
Well,
and
yeah,
why
I
do
don't
they
know.
know
I
about
don't know.
the testing names for tuberculosis? It seems like they're a completely unrelated field.
I agree that it doesn't make sense, but it's weird to me, though, that it's the exact same. But whatever, if you don't think it's weird, again, this is kind of a Jessi as a spy moment for me. I'm like, how do you not think the weird part of this case is weird? But okay, live your best life, sis.
It's not weird. Like, okay, it's like, oh, is it weird that you share the same name as the character that died in Hunger Games and we have a true crime podcast? No. There's letters. Okay. Have you ever heard of the infinite monkey theorem, okay? So basically it's this theory that given enough time, any monkey who sits down in front of a keyboard could type the works of William Shakespeare. But just not enough time has surpassed for that to happen, basically, right? Like, some letters are going to be shared, some acronyms are going to be the same.
I get that. It's just
now
it's
if big tuberculosis company test place murdered her, okay, then we got a connection. But
I know, but can you at least give me the dub that it's an interesting coincidence?
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay, whatever.
It's a coincidence.
Okay. So in March 2013, her family held her funeral and her body was laid to rest. In September of that year, her parents David and Yenna were ready to fight. They sued the hotel for damages and sought compensation for funeral costs. Their argument was that the hotel held a responsibility to, quote, inspect and seek out hazards in the hotel that presented an unreasonable risk of danger to hotel guests.
Fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And this would go on to start a 2-year-long battle in court that called on all sorts of witnesses, former hotel employees, anyone who could have seen her. The family's lawyer argued that her death could have been avoided had the tanks just been secured, so even just like padlocking them. And, he believed that there was no foul play, that there was no real mystery, that it was just a result of mental illness and a perfect storm with having those tanks unlocked. So he wasn't even like, oh, I'm coming for you, and I think you killed her. He was just like, hey, your negligence killed this girl. But unfortunately, in December of that year, Judge Howard Halm dismissed the case. I feel like they should have gotten some kind of compensation.
So they didn't get a compensation at all for that?
It was thrown out.
I mean, did the people who were drinking the dead body water get to sue?
I would have.
I would have not signed that waiver and been like, getting a lawyer.
Yeah, just all of it. Just all of it, no. So I'm almost done, but I do have kind of some of my own thoughts. I'm super close to just calling this a tragic accident by someone who is experiencing a manic episode, but there are just a few things that don't make sense to me about this.
All right, let's talk them through.
Which is why I think it has such interest. I, especially at 21, wouldn't have even really known that there were, water tanks on top of the hotel. I feel like that's kind of a specific thing to know, especially if you're not completely lucid.
Yeah, but hypothetically, what if she just wandered up on top of the hotel while she's looking around? Obviously, she's exploring different floors of the hotel.
Yeah.
How many hotels have you been at where you're like, I'm going to walk around on a different floor just to see what it's like,
Yeah.
Maybe she came across this door, it's propped open because some employees had a cigarette break and forgot.
Yeah.
She's in a manic state and she thinks, ooh, I want to go swimming, and sees the water tanks then. It's not like she has to know that they're up there. She could have just kind of come upon them.
Yeah, I suppose. It's just...
That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, it's true. It's just, it's still a little bizarre to me. I guess if she wandered onto the roof and it was open, yeah. But it's just, I don't know.
When I'm in the hotel, I explore every floor.
Oh, really? I don't.
Oh, yeah. I go around every floor. I walk around. I figure out, okay, there's the best ice machine. This thing has Snickers. The other one is Kit Kats. Maybe I hit the Snickers one tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah, I get the lay of the land to map it out.
It's also a little weird to me that she was naked. Some people think that she took her clothes off because they were weighing her down and she was trying to float a little bit better. But you gotta remember, she's in a t-shirt, a hoodie, and basketball shorts. It's not like she's in, a ball gown, i.e. Rose in the Titanic.
Yeah, I could see ditching the hoodie, but...
Yeah, I just don't know... I don't know that I would put that much effort if I'm trying to survive into getting naked, because it's kind of hard to take your t-shirt off. Maybe the shorts, because you could just kind of kick them off, and like you said, maybe the hoodie, but I feel like the t-shirt is extra movement that's not contributing to you living.
Yeah. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in after you're done with yours.
Okay.
And we're going to revisit that.
It also upsets me that her rape kit was never processed, just because, like, why would you not exhaust every option?
That should frickin' upset anybody.
All of the rape kits that go untested, and the backlogs are huge, should
upset you.
Everyone. And if it doesn't, go look up Mariska Hargitay's work, because she's an incredible human, and I love her very much. It also bothers me that the time codes on the elevator are missing, and seem to be so eroded.
Okay, I'm going to weigh in on that one as someone who's in video production and someone who's had to pull a lot of security footage myself.
Yeah.
So I've done security camera installation, and I've done pulling footage for different cases and stuff that took place at certain places. I can't really, I don't know if I can say more than that.
Right.
But I will tell you that just because a chunk of the time code is missing doesn't mean that it's super valuable information. That could just be time that she was just standing in the elevator doing nothing, that they cut out to kind of get to the point a little faster.
I get that, but it's also like they have so much time where she's not even in the frame.
That's true.
That's still intact. And then it's like, and also like, I feel like since the police released it, they would have been like, and we've removed some time for, like, they just present it as if it's whole. Well, and that's where it feels like they're not saying something they should be saying.
Or they could have just, honestly, they could have withheld a certain part because maybe it has information that only someone who was aware of what's going on could have happened. So I don't see that as, like, complete conspiracy theory, because I do know during investigations they do have to hold certain information back in case it becomes relevant.
Yeah.
And also I just know that, you know, sometimes they're going to edit it down to get to the points that are the most important. So
it is one of those things, though, that I feel like it's just on top of an already bizarre case. I feel like it's just something that adds to the bizarreness. It's interesting. Yeah.
But I wouldn't write it off as saying it's 100% tampered.
No, me either. Yeah. It's just strange.
It's notable, for sure.
Yeah. My guess, if I had to make a hypothesis, is that she got onto the roof, discovered the tanks, and wasn't in a place to think about consequences for her actions, that maybe she wouldn't be able to get out, and, you know, in her not so lucid state, made a poor decision. I think maybe the cold water shock kind of regulated her a little bit, because I know that can sometimes happen. And then I think her survival instincts might have kicked in, but she just wasn't able to save her own life.
I mean, I agree that could definitely be a scenario.
Yeah.
To me, it's either that or, you know, if she is in this manic phase and she's off her medications.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there is a great history out there of victims being the easiest to manipulate, and someone in a state where they're already detached and have been noted around the hotel as acting odd is going to be an easy victim.
Yeah.
And without that rape kit processed, I don't think we can ever 100% say. Because it could have been where she didn't have any bruises and that they just dumped her in the tank and closed the lid, and that was that.
Yeah. And I mean,
I would agree with that.
Like you said earlier, I totally see why her parents didn't disclose her mental health status.
Right.
Because I feel like her case does sort of get written off as, well, she was just mentally ill. Look at her Tumblr. And I'm like, dude, I'm sure I tweeted, I want to die because the cafeteria was out of chicken nuggets in high school. Like, putting shit on the internet is not necessarily indicative of suicidal thoughts or your mental state. And I think it's lazy to combine the two. I don't think that, like, oh, she posted sad stuff. Like, I have a dark aesthetic that is often like, oh, she's like, if you saw my internet personality, especially when I was younger, you would think, oh, she hates her life. And that's just the things that I'm into. I like moody, sad quotes.
Well, and she's bipolar. The highs are high and the lows are lows. Yeah. You know?
And I think...
But I do think it's... Go on.
Part of why I'm interested in this case, and I'm excited to see what Netflix does, is because I don't think that that's a reason to write it off and not do a thorough investigation.
Absolutely, 100%.
That, you know, her mental health status, her not being med compliant, is not a reason to just be like, well, case closed, she killed herself. Because I don't think it was suicide. I think maybe she got herself in a bad spot. I don't think she intentionally killed herself. And that's also not what the autopsy showed. Ultimately, I feel like there's actually huge potential for foul play, even if it was just another young person who was like, let's go up to the water tanks. And then maybe she couldn't get out or couldn't swim and drowned. And they were like, oh, shit, and just pretended nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it was something I guess, innocent maybe. That, I think maybe someone did know what was happening, even if it was just someone else being a dumb young person.
Absolutely. And like we've talked about, the Cecil is in not the best location. It has been home to several serial killers and people who behave erratically and irrationally. When we're talking about any hostile situation, there's always going to be a group of people that hasn't been screened for safety regulations as far as background checked or anything like that. This is a place where just anybody could be that might not have the best intentions.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that other hotels are any better in that regard, but I am saying that a lot of people that would see this hotel as a great option are those that are struggling financially, who are from other countries, who want to lay low and not be found.
Absolutely.
And it's very entirely possible in my mind that something like that could have happened. And who's not going to talk? The manic girl,
Right. So I am excited to see what Netflix will do with this documentary, and I hope that maybe they'll bring some new things to light. And more than anything, I just want closure for her family, and I hope they've found a way to get that. So in the meantime, I will leave you with a post from Elisa's Tumblr from January 21st, 2013. I had a catch-up reunion with high school/elementary people and a sort of bon voyage soiree. And I'm fatigued/exhausted/in recovery for throwing it and just seeing so many people and doing so many stupid, idiotic things in the last 4 days. But I am so very full of, I suppose the term would be, as Dumbledore says, love. Because last night was evidence that I do have amazing, beautiful things in my life. And even though everyone is busy and going off doing great things, they do care about me. I'm not a profession-depressed person. I am so much more than that, and these people are my reminders that I am very lucky. Life is long and difficult, and people will always be stupid and complain, but it is worth it so long as you have special moments. There will be lots of these moments in the future, and there have been a lot in the past. So what if everything is shit and all the plans have gone to hell? If I ask for help, someone might even be willing to spare a hand. Thank you, friends, family, and Tumblr. The world is just awesome. Boom dia da. Emotional cheese cliche is over now. I have shit to do. We'll catch up on the inauguration later.
That's sad.
Yeah. And that is the story of Elisa Lam.
So if you agree with me on that tuberculosis test coincident thing, comment or hit us up at supposedlypod@gmail.com or on supposedlypod.com. You can also drop us a line. Let us know if there are any stories that you'd like us to cover, or possibly even let us know about your own personal experiences.
Yep. Or come hang out with me on Twitter and let's talk about how wrong Jessi is. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and all of those handles are at supposedlypod. Guys, I know I'm right.
No.
Okay.
I think we might have to do a Facebook poll on this one.
We might. It's weird.
It's not that weird.
You're weird.
You're weird.
Okay, I know.
Okay, and so are our supposers. Join us next time on
Supposedly.
I'm right about this one.
You're so wrong.
Yo, I'm so right.